So, yeah, what I was going into is crypto's kind of at a possible pivot point. Let me clean this up a little bit. I don't like having so much. So with Bitcoin and Ethereum, we've came down into this weekly demand. It's going to be a fractal demand zone for both Bitcoin and Ethereum. Ethereum actually wicked under it just a little bit. It didn't close really any major time frame under that zone. I think the 15-minute is the highest time frame we closed there. I think it closed a 4 hour. Yeah, no, I mean it kind of, I guess, barely, but um, it's not enough for me to really worry about it. So, once we expect, all of these high time frame break of structures, everything from the 4 hour all the way up to the daily and the weekly, all our high time frames we're expecting a pullback at some point. When can we expect that pullback to begin? Like we talked about in the class, for those of you who are on PlayBit, we expect a pullback to begin after an internal change of character. Now, we don't just use the change of character, we pair it with other things like higher time frame demand, this big weekly demand zone. So if you see down here, right there, price got an internal break of structure because this candle broke this candle's low, which makes it a high. And if price action is making lower lows and lower highs, we're obviously bearish. Like for instance, we pulled back a little bit here. Like this is how we found you could have found the last pullback. It's short lived. That was your pullback, and then when you broke back down, it was the end of the pullback. You know, or you could just be more aggressive with it and say as soon as we have an internal break of structure, which would have been right there. But if you look down here, if you look really closely, we actually had two internal breaks of structure. So we have this inside bar right here, which produced a new low after it. Price pushed up above it, broke it. Then price came back down into wherever the demand was in this candle. We formed this new internal high since this candle broke its low, and we broke above that. So, this is most likely going to be the pullback. Now, um, I would have rather price came back right into this zone in order for, us to look for longs because now if price goes back down into that zone, if price pushes down here, we're taking out all these lows. So now we're bearish again. And until you make that higher high, the whole idea behind longing from these zones, um, is getting less probable. Now, sure, we can wait for the 15-minute to come into this zone and then wait for it to switch bullish. But at that point, a lot of times you're waiting for some confirmation, when in reality, the whole ideology behind taking those longs there was that the 4 hour would switch bullish. If price healthily comes back in and retraces, satisfies these orders, then the 4 hour is still bullish. You wait for the 15-minute to go bullish, and that's where you have all the time frames, kind of working in harmony. But now we've moved away from that. So, trying the long off of this zone or these zones is a little less probable. Now, uh, it's not necessarily to say it won't work, but at the end of the day, we got to remember, we're bearish in the 4 hour. If you look, this was our swing for me. It's right there. So we've definitely came up into optimal trade entry, came up into a heavy premium. If we push back down to these zones, then this will be the pullback will be, kind of telling, or the price action will tell us the pullback's over. So, unfortunately, that kind of killed the longs for me. And with Ethereum, I think Bitcoin, there was a flip zone you could have caught. Ethereum, I really don't see it. Now if we come down to this zone, clear out these lows, and start to see, bullish structure form, um, I'd be cool to long. But really, for me, I mean, if I'm going to trade counter trend, counter swing structure, because we are clearly bearish. Here's our strong high over here, and then here's our strong low, or weak low. I'm sorry. We're just looking to get short here and target this weak low. Just based off of structure, and we all know that structure is kind of our foundation of all of our trades. So really, right now, what I'm watching for is price to return back into this zone and look for a short opportunity. And now I would be trimming at these zones of demand just because we are in that weekly demand. This is where that new demand was created on the 4 hour, but overall target would be, this low down here because that's our week low. We target probably, I'd probably just target the demand zone, week low. I'll probably even just target those lows instead of the demand zone as the first TP. Um, Good risk to reward too. We can because and I'll show you the logic behind this. Now we have a really nice PL we came into. I refine because we're in the 4 hour. We have this massive, bearish order block right here. We have still have an inefficiency to fill above, but we have this big supply zone. The 4 hour is bearish. So once we come into the 4 hour supply, we then go to 15-minute and we watch for a internal change of character. Now, early shorts, yeah, Frontier, Steven, I don't know if he's in here, but Frontier is awesome. I just don't have access to him. Excuse me. But dude, I swear COVID, like it's been like 2 weeks and I still have a cough. I don't feel that bad, but yeah, so here, price came back up into that 4 hour zone, but it left this inefficiency right here. It did sweep this high, but price came back up, but we see it did not make it into that zone. So this could be considered an inducement high, to induce the early shorts in. And while the TA was correct, if you look, you came up, okay, you got that minor break of structure. If you use the range supply, just this whole little zone, you got it tagged in right there. You know, you probably, I mean, really, I don't see any reason to target anything lower than here. So you just got, I mean, you probably got your trim, maybe if you, have a fixed amount you take off at 4R. You didn't even get 4R, so you got faked out pretty hard there and took a loss, which is fine. But this is the power of refining those um, lower time frame zone or those higher time frame zones to a lower time frame. I think we talked about this POI on stream. I know we did with one with Bitcoin, but we had that fair value gap, the high, which we'd already swept, but now we have a new high in front of it. So we know there was a lot of selling that came into the market here. So once price reaches that zone, we see what happens. Now we got that internal break of structure. Price is actually moving a little bit tighter. I like this price action better. It's quicker, faster. Now we have a high right here. So once price comes into this zone and switches bearish in the 1 minute, I'm going to look to short it. Taking a look at Bitcoin. My iPad's charged too because I can't enter VPN. Glad I just checked that, guys. Let me get my iPad charged. Give me 2 seconds. Sorry about that. I just had to get my iPad and make sure it's logged in because Binance sometimes will log you out and then you go to enter a trade and it's can cause a issue. Yeah, I like the idea of shorts here down. Now, if we can see price return to those levels of demand and start to shift structure again, then I'll start to look to long. But I need that 4-hour demand creation, and I need the 4-hour internal structure to be bearish. If I'm going to long against the 4-hour trend, I need the at least the trend to tell me that we're pulling back, not that we're ending a pullback. And that's a thing I see a lot of people getting stuck with is they'll find these POIs, but then they set them and then they wait for price to move so far away from them that by the time that price comes back into them, it just they're not bullish anymore. It just doesn't, you know what I mean? You're kind of forgetting the logic that you use to when you're using internal structure, and you're kind of just forcing a narrative that you want to see instead of using what the market's giving you. But you know, you gotta just be patient. Remember what you're doing. Like remember why you're doing what you're doing. Don't just ape into stuff and pick a POI and get married to it because that was the POI that you selected that you liked. It just doesn't make sense to do that.
So we finish short or what?
Yeah, so I'm waiting on.
How was your Father's Day, sir?
It was good, man. It was good. Just went to the pool and hung out. It's pretty lax day. I actually, whenever we came home, she took a nap and I started trading forex. I'm gonna go over that play here in a second to kind of give you guys a look at like the ICT setups. Forex is so much better than crypto, dude. Like so much.
I know I downloaded M25 last night. I think I'm about to make the switch.
Yeah, it's so much better, bro. It's um think of crypto. Well, Bitcoin and Ethereum are cool, but I'm about I'm about to just start trading Bitcoin and Ethereum only, just because like you can find good setups on them, and with like all the other alts, you have to watch. It's just so much more screen time, and so many. You'll end up hitting that trade, but at the end of the day, you'll end up watching it for a while, getting stopped out of break even, this and that, and it's just like,
You could have took the same Bitcoin play and not even worried about it.
yeah, exactly. And then another thing too, you got to your trade's already relying on Bitcoin as it is. You know what I mean? Like if you're
Yeah.
trading against Bitcoin's trend, like your TA it really doesn't always matter. I won't say it doesn't matter, but you cut your probability down insane by um, trading against the Bitcoin trend. But so here with Bitcoin, like so this is the opportunity that we got with Bitcoin. If you look on the 4-hour, price broke above that high, and price came back down. On this, but it did come back down into this zone. If you're using the fractal zone. Now, if you go to 15-minute and you were fine, I actually pushed this down here. But if you look, there's a flip zone right here. Price came back up into this zone, it pulled back, and then it pushed through it. That it came into the supply zone. You had a 15-minute POI that price reacted to and then pushed through it. So that's your flip zone. That would be valid to long from an FTC. Price came into it. It was a pretty clean play. Price came into that zone. Once you have price gets that internal break of structure, you can just mark that order block right there. Price came right onto it. I mean, it was super, super clean price action. Now, didn't really even give the best risk to reward for 1 minute execution. It was only 6R, but I mean, you can't be mad at it. Here with Bitcoin, let's see. See, Bitcoin hasn't came up to the POI I wanted yet. I see some other clean ones on the 15-minute. Hasn't really came up into any that I paid too much attention to. Let's look on the 4-hour and see what it's looking like. So it broke through this institutional candle right here. I like this zone, but it didn't seem to really respect it. I didn't get any 15-minute confirmation there. So I mean, really, the problem with this one for me, I had drawn this zone up a while ago. Like, see, if you look on Ethereum, we had cleared out that liquidity. This same zone on Ethereum, like the same time and everything, it had actually tapped up into there, like we just went over, and you saw price sweep those highs, fill the fair value gap, and push into that supply. So that Ethereum is a little cleaner, in my opinion, than Bitcoin, but could be an issue for Ethereum. We'll see. Because I mean, Bitcoin at the end of the day, it is in a 4-hour supply zone, and it is exhibiting bearish signs. It's just not hitting the zone I'd want. And maybe you might just tap up into this and see that reversal we need, because it's starting to. You've seen that reversal right here, and you are in the 4-hour zone. So at the end of the day, you don't have to hit these refined zones, but it looks like it wants to. This already got cleared right here. Got more trendline liquidity. I've noticed a lot lately. Crypto's really liking to engineer trendline liquidity a lot more than usual. You're starting to just see these little trends over and over again. They get swapped and then price moves to the upside. But we'll go over this GJ play while we're kind of just waiting on crypto. I think it was this one. Yeah. So this is a super counter trend trade. 4 hours bullish. We longed GJ. We got stopped to break even, but we longed it and ate off of it. 4 hours bullish as can be, as with most pairs denominated by the yen. If you're wondering why it's bullish, price here is our swing structure. We came down, we're bearish, came down. So right there, you got to break a structure to the upside. What's the lowest point between the two these two highs? It's right here. So this is our swing structure. Price moved up, came back down into a zone of demand and discount. So kind of all the boxes are starting to check off. That's why we took those longs. Started to see bullish price structure. There was actually a I think the what was it? The Swiss bank started buying Japanese bonds. This is another crazy instance that tells us the world's kind of fucked up right now. If you look, Japanese bonds, which are considered one of the safe haven assets for national governments to invest in. Usually these are bonds. These you shouldn't see this on bonds, but it's because the Swiss bank is now buying these bonds, and the Japanese central bank also buys these bonds, and they keep the returns very stable. But um, whenever the Swiss bank started to buy the bonds, it created a lot of volatility in the yen. So that's why you saw that insane price action where we wicked down so far. But regardless, see, this is what happened. We were in the trade. We already took some profits, and then got stopped at break even. But it's frustrating when that happens, because those macroeconomic conditions push price down. But it was still bullish. We see that it still remained bullish. That past the news that we pushed back up in here. So the 15 minutes bullish, the 4 hours bullish, everything is bullish. So it's like, why did I short this? Well, an ICT setup that a lot of people go over is like these liquidity raids, and they happen at certain times. So there's not really an Asia kill zone, but I like to think of the highest volume area for Asia around like 7 p.m. 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern. So we had the time, that was correct. Now price pushed above this high. Now we did close above it. Now what I do it a little differently than they teach. A lot of people say all you need is the high. I personally like a high into an institutional candle, the candle right before displacement, or just a supply zone, which this was both of those, because we got our breaks of structure here. You see, price shift from a bullish, or this was kind of confirming the flip from a bullish 15-minute internal structure to bear. That's going to be a flip zone because price came into um, some demand down over here, and then this blasted through it. It broke demand. It's kind of that second confirmation. So, I like the zone. We had the liquidity raid set up because we're pushing above this old high. That's all you need is just an old clear high or equal highs. We had filled the fair value gap there. So, while this is against the 15-minute trend, it's bullish. It's against the 4-minute or 4 minute against the 4-hour trend, which was bullish. So it's kind of like, counterintuitive, but you can hit trades like this. You just got to take profits really quick. So I also saw this trend line liquidity right here. It was being engineered. That kind of gave me more confluence that we would go to the downside. And then we had this low time frame demand zone that we had these inducement lows right in front of it. So, you scale on the low time frames, we had this demand zone that really, the pivot demand that really started to push us up, but it never got tapped. Price formed a ton of liquidity under all of these lows, and then we had the trend line liquidity. So all of those confluences together, gave me reasons. Okay, I'm going to look for shorts. So when I, executing this kind of stuff, you need to use the 1 minute, maybe the 3 minute, but I don't even think 3 minute gave an entry. Now, and they're kind of, a lot of people would be scared to take them, and it is against the trend, but I encourage you to try to paper trade these first. So here, what we see, what we look for once price comes into this zone, is we look for that internal break of structure. But we need a fair value gap. We need, to confirm that this is a liquidity raid, we need a displacement in the market, which we got here, this massive gap all the way down to here. So I just set it on the top of the gap because it is counter trend. I, didn't care to miss the trade. I just wanted price to, um, give me the best possible entry at the lowest risk reward. Stop loss just above this high. It's one tick above it. And you can see price pushed into it. And then at that point, it's if you're correct with these, they're pretty explosive plays. So there's a nice 11R on a Sunday night. You can't complain. I took some profits. I think it was right here. Yeah, it was in this area right here, kind of right near this wick. And then I took 30% there, and then I took everything in full here. Now, I'm not going to leave runners on a trade like this because you can see, look what happened. It reversed, But it actually went a little farther. I thought it was going to reverse in this demand zone, but it seemed to want this liquidity down here, thing over in this area right here. But that's a good example of how I would take, very counter trend intraday trade. But you got to have a lot of confluences there. And now I took this trade totally okay with taking an L on it too. I wouldn't have been upset. You have to take these trades being aware that you're kind of taking an unprobable trade. I shouldn't say unprobable, like you wouldn't want to take anything that you just think's gonna lose, but I also didn't have the highest level of conviction in this, but I did have all the checks on this trade model, so I took the trade. I know that this works a good amount of the time, even though it's a little less likely. So, I took the trade and went with it, and it worked out. Um, this right here, I think is going to be a really good setup. So we have Aussie dollar, got these equal lows right there. Mark this. Sorry for the call. Price hasn't really given me what we need just yet. I want us to come back down into this zone. The 4-hour is looking good, but I think a lot of these trades against the dollar are just setting up to push us back into these lower time frame distribution zones to come down and clear out all this sell side liquidity on the weekly. But the dollar is going to need some time to kind of chill out. Why is it right there? The dollar needs some time to chill out before we make those kind of moves. So here, now price is in this zone. Now what we're going to need is price to break structure to the downside, we're going to need that internal break of structure. And we can kind of trail this low up along with price structure as it forms. We can also, if you'd like, you can try to refine it to some of these smaller zones. Sometimes you can get paralysis by analysis by doing that, but I like to do it just to kind of plot the area to see how we react. I'm not going to say I need price to get into that area, but it would be nice to see price move up into this. Well, also right here we have this area right here before displacement. So there's both zones would be cool. We'll watch and see if they hit up into it, but really for me, anywhere in this zone, break a structure to the downside. I'm kind of cool with it. Let's look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin looks like it wants that higher zone up here, which would give us that run on liquidity. But the problem here with Bitcoin, for me, let's check Ethereum as well while we're at it. So yeah, the only thing here that I don't like is now price is has switched back bullish in the 15-minute. So it's kind of counterintuitive to use a confirmation entry on these zones once price is pushed away from it. But the thing is, when we're with the trend, we're with the 4-hour trend, you have a little bit more conviction on that. Seems like we're getting a nice reaction out of here as well. It's this zone. So what good old Bitcoin's doing. Yep, it hit right into that zone. Nice volume spike, nothing insane. Also, we're right around this time where these liquidity rates happen, right towards the London close, so that gives a little more confluence there. So we got that fair value gap, showing displacement in the market. Looks like it wants to fill it. I want it to leave it there for us. Because now price is reacting to this 1-minute demand. You're kind of seeing that battle between the buyers and sellers, so to speak. Because we have this institutional candle. I wouldn't pay too much money or attention for longs or anything, but you do need to watch to see prices reacting to it. Now we'll see price. I'd rather it leave this fair value gap, to be honest. It looks like it's going to need this fuel to go down. But we'll get a nice flip zone if so. Now at this point, what I'm waiting for, I just need one break of structure. I'm going to play a little more aggressive. Once price breaks down from here, I'll want it to just come up anywhere really in this zone. But if we have that fair value gap, it'd be nice to use the order block within it. Because in these situations, I'll play the range if we do break down from here, because on this is a 1 minute, this is probably a 5-minute order block. Yeah, exactly. You see what I mean? So you can, if you play the range extreme all the time, that's fine. But I need to fix this shading so it's not so dark. But if you play the range or the extreme, this up here, that's totally fine. But it can lead to missing a lot more trades. And the risk to reward here is still going to be good, if we take that. So let's just see roughly. Percents are crazy nowadays because everything is so fucked. Actually not the craziest from there. But well, theoretically, we're going to target the 4-hour low, but for me, I'm not really going to be super greedy with these just because we are in that weekly demand. I'd probably take most of it right there. And I mean, 6 to 1 is fine for me. So no trade just yet, though. It looks like we're going to get our confirmation here in a second.
Give it to me. Come
So I
on.
got that break right there. I want to see how she reacts if she comes up and fills this gap or not.
No, you would take your entry off of that fair value gap, wouldn't you?
Not necessarily. I'll take it even without it getting filled. I'm just gonna watch. I'm gonna wait for it to start to reverse. Because really, we're in this zone. Like theoretically, you broke below here, and now you're back in this 1 minute supply zone. Or I'm sorry, yeah, the zone, the whole zone is if that's what you're using. But I want to see if we can pull up and get a better entry because every little bit here is it means a lot for our risk to reward. You know, because we've already like just by waiting here. If we get another breakdown, I'll probably go ahead and enter. So if we break down again here, I'll go ahead and enter. Yep, I'm gonna give it a second. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get in shorts right here.
I am in with you.
Go ahead and alert Discord too. I always forget.
Did you see the little dispute yesterday in chat
About what?
about how Hood just posts his games and never posts a play?
I didn't see that. Did not see that.
Yeah, Glacier. That's why Bitcoin made the lesson channel.
Oh shit. Yeah, I was unaware.
I mean, because like Glacier said, it's confusing. You're posting games, and half the people, even Glacier said that the new people are confused because you're posting games, but where was the play at?
Right. Yeah, I can see how that could confuse some people for sure. That's why yeah, I understand for sure how that could be a problem. Uh-oh, Chosen Trey's typing in MPix. I haven't seen him forever.
And he's an MPIC.
Oh yeah, Chosen's with the shit. He knows what's up.
Oh, I know. That's where I got my Binance account from.
Same. So here, with ETH, I'm, we're in. What's divide say? Why wouldn't I wait for M3? Because I don't use M3. But here with let's look at Bitcoin and see how she's doing. Okay. Definitely got a reaction you'd want to see there. This would also be a similar to the Liquid setup that we were just talking about on GJ. Got that right. It's not really the ideal time. It's kind of around that time, but you see that, and then you see this move away. Not that much displacement though, um, for a Liquid setup. Yeah, I don't really. I mean, I guess you have a 3 minute for it, but you get because they whenever you're taught those, they through all the time frames. But that's the other thing with crypto is it doesn't really have the cleanest uh, price action. But with Bitcoin here, like we were saying before, I really wish Bitcoin would have came up way higher here, up into this region up here. But oops, we still are in a decent zone. I'm gonna look at indexes too, or indices. No, I said indexes. Got some pretty clear liquidity building on both sides. Indexes are a little sus, but I don't know. You could see all this get ran right now. Oops. This would actually be nice. One liquidity right there. I like this. Go post this up for the stock boys. I would, you need more confirmation for it, but yeah, with where Bitcoin's at, I took the shorts because it met my criteria, but I am kind of watching and seeing how. I'm not going to short Bitcoin here because yeah, we got everything you really needed, but I do like the ETH setup better in my opinion because we cleared that higher supply zone. Like with Bitcoin, this is still left over here, so that's a little sus to me. I would have rather had price come up, and done this number. That's how I would have rather played Bitcoin. Um, but I just said, okay, so if I say shorting now, that means I'm shorting it now. A lot of I remember FTM. I wasn't active the other day, and I saw a shitload of people were like completely out of, they couldn't figure out what was going on. But I mean, I don't. Maybe I can just say marketing next time. I don't know.
What'd you get filled at?
Let me see. Hold on. Order history at 11:34.95.
Okay, I got 11:30.
Yeah, but Bitcoin, I mean, it got, you know, it hit the criteria. But if I'm going to look at Bitcoin and ETH and they're both kind of hitting it, this would be like a good example of why I'd pick one than the other. Because I mean, this looks good on Bitcoin. I mean, it's you ran these highs, saw price violently move away from that area. So especially like using like ICT logic, like that was your liquid raid right there. But I do see crypto a lot of the time not respect that kind of stuff. And I guess you got a fair value gap here. We're actually gonna plot that out and just see if it gets respected. I wouldn't personally watch it, but just the S and X. Fine saying. So yeah, I forgot to over the T. Okay, so last one S and X. So yeah, nice little flip zone right here.
Swear to God, got a little.
Is Divine in here? Yeah, he has bet. Okay, cool.
He was just like, "Oh, what
Yeah,
the
yeah.
fuck, bro?
I'm here
Bro,
now.
just
I didn't
stream
know
it.
you were streaming.
Even streaming."
So I see this zone. I like it. It's your flip zone right there because price came down, reacted to this demand, pushed. I mean, you could look at both of these zones really. Like both of these would be valid in my opinion. To be honest, ideally the higher one. The only reason I say that is because you have liquidity in play there too. You'd have a rate on this high. It's not necessary. If I was convicted in this trade, I'd play both, and if I got stopped out on both, then whatever. You know what I mean? It met my criteria. Now I haven't looked at the higher time frame, so I can't really speak on that. But I'm just assuming we're in a 4-hour
Yeah.
POI, probably. Yeah, you could, and you got see how right here did we run this high? See that? That's what I like that. Like that makes me have more faith in a POI if there's a high right in front of it. You know what I mean? Because then you swept those stops, and then you also pushed up into that supply. So then, we look, price came up in here. Then you got that internal break of structure, really, because I guess maybe in the low time frames it got it first. There's probably some fractal supply in there. Price came into it. After this newfound demand was created to push us back up in there, then you got that internal break of structure there, or maybe right here. You wanted to be. So if you look right here and you drew range supply, well, then you kind of tapped into it already. You see what I mean? So you kind of tapped into it. Then, price came back down, reacted to this demand, pulled back a little bit, and then pushed through it. So I like the POI. I do like it. Now, what we need on the 1 minute here, and see, I guess really you already got your confirmation over here. There's your break of structure. It looks like it's respecting this area. You could have said, okay, well, here's break of structure. Um, you could have said this whole zone right here is your supply. And you see price filled it all the way, came really close to getting stopped out there. I really don't like trading coins like this with the 1 minute or just almost at all anymore because they just trade weird. But it is respecting it here. So now if you are using a double confirmation entry, you want this to get broken and then come up to the supply that sent you there. But a lot of times with crypto, waiting for the double, like what happens is like price will come down and it'll like break through it, and then it's got to switch bullish to get back up to your POI. And then people set limits here, thinking they're using a confirmation entry, but then price switches bullish, and now demand's in control, and it hits their zone, maybe reacts a little bit, and then blasts through, and they're like, "Oh fuck this shit, it doesn't work." But it's just because once that market structure, these internal structure shifts, you're trying to play them extremely fast. Like this is a good example, but at the same time here, even actually no, you didn't see this is. Look at this. So like we came down. This isn't a high because the candle after it didn't break its low. So you really never switched, but you did right here. Right there you did switch. So it's like that's where you kind of get that choppy price action that I'm not really a fan of. Because theoretically, right now you're bullish on the 1 minute, but if you're taking confirmation entry, well, there's nothing really confirmed about that because price is bullish on the lower time frame. So I don't know. I don't like this that right there on the 1 minute, but I mean the 15 minute looks good. I just it's definitely got some room to go down. So I see the shorts, but that's what whenever people are saying this price action is a little sloppy on alts, that's a great example of that. So I personally don't really like it. It looks to me like if I'm looking at the 1 minute, this looks like it's going to go clear these highs. If you're using the 1 minute confirmation, you know, if you use, okay, here was your break of structure. Okay, well, you set a limit right here and stop loss right there. You're probably gonna get stopped out. Which I mean, it's not the end of the world. Like if you take a loss on it, but it's just kind of like, if you're watching this is what I was saying earlier. Like, it takes a lot more screen time. So like now for me, we're in this 1 minute POI. Now I need price to switch bearish on the 1 minute again. But it's just frustrating because theoretically you had everything you needed. You come into a 15-minute zone, your 4 hour zone's been respected. You're in a 15 minute flip zone. Price comes up, breaks structure to the downside, and then just comes right back up. So, but it's part of the game. It just takes more screen time and more patience and more watch. Not even really more patience, but just more sitting in front of the screen. I'm very close to the point of just removing everything except Bitcoin and Ethereum from my watch list, especially now where we're at with how everything is insane, beaten down, and the market's kind of really far down because a lot of these shit coins, they don't take much money to push it. So it's like you're using concepts that are based off of identifying footprint of institutions on market caps that are not much at all. So if we're like using smart money concepts on something like, I don't know, like CVC or some like shitcoin, they work, but you're gonna have a lot more noise, a lot more false signals. And you can always go back in hindsight and be like, oh, they work. I'm plotting it out right here. It works. It works. And you'll find where it worked in hindsight, but there was probably multiple stops at break even or stops for small loss along the way to that, which that's where it's like, is it even worth it? You know what I mean? Is it worth your time? But it's just my 2 cents on um, other cryptos than Bitcoin. Yeah, I don't want this to come up here because that would probably result in ETH getting stopped. But I would love to short Bitcoin from up in this zone. And even though these shorts are pro trend, I'm not going to be super aggressive. Like ideally, if this demand wasn't here, I'd be still targeting this week low. I might regret not targeting it on ETH. Who knows? But I'm just not going to take it all the way down there. I'll leave a runner though. I will leave a small runner. It's in like what I was saying on SNX to find like even for ETH here, it was a little sus because the 15-minute switch bullish again. But it could, it looks more like a liquid in my opinion.
Yeah, because it didn't close over.
Yeah. But even though, I don't use the closures for internal structure, but I kind of keep it in the back of my mind. Now, if you get another, now look at that, and there you go. Now you've got, okay, so this is what now you waited for it to come up here. Now you've got another break of structure here, but it gets so choppy where it's like, okay, you know, you kind of are also engineering this liquidity right here. Well, and also if you refine this zone, no, it hit into it. Never mind. I wouldn't really worry about the inside bar. I'd use institutional candle if anything there. Now it looks more like it's starting to break down, like it's showing that sign, those signs of weakness, um, in order for to open a short. Because like if this were 4x right here, you could say, okay, I'm waiting for this. Price gonna come here. I'm setting my order like this right here, right at the high, maybe 1 pip above, 2. That would be the way. But with you know this, you risk kind of getting stopped out and then having to enter again. It's just really, I always tell people trading with the lower time frames, you have to be very at peace with your system, because what people aren't showing you whenever people post a ton of gains and this and that, they're not showing you all the times that they got stopped out, a break even or a loss. It happens all the time, if you're using the lower time frames. But you have to, once you have confidence in your system, you're okay with that happening, because what you're doing works. It just didn't work that time. Does that, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's one thing I stress to people whenever they start getting on the lower time frames. But at the end of the day, I mean, once you get it down, I'll tell you, hands down, you make more money. No question. No question, if you're doing it correctly. Somebody said GMT. Also, I forgot, I kind of went on a rant there, and a couple people asked me. There's a couple coins. Storage. Let me do storage, and I'll be fair. Let me do storage for Oscar first. Astrage. Ooh, let's see. This shit still is in its 4-hour range from like fucking. No, it's not. This shit is mad sus. Oops, wrong. Another example. I mean, you look like a massive liquidity rate so far here, because this was your 4-hour range right there. After you broke down from this low. So you've got that break of structure. 4-hour is definitely in a premium. It almost looks like Bitcoin whenever we were at that like 32,650. You've rated all this liquidity right there. So a ton of liquidity has been rated. You can go to lower time frames, try to find supply. I mean, we could just say there's fractal supply in this wick. I'm gonna go to 15-minute and see if I can pinpoint something. You could say there's fractal supply now in this wick and continuously refine it. You already tapped into it a little bit. Not really the most appealing price action. It really already tapped into all this, so I don't know. I mean, and you broke through this, so I wouldn't really pay that too much mind. For me to want to play this, I would wait for a 4-hour internal change of character or a 15-minute structure to be, switch bearish, which this isn't that to me yet. So, and I would wait for that, or if we make another small little high really quick, price comes down and it does this number, makes a new high, so now you have a new low, and then you switch bearish. That newly introduced supply, once price turned into it, wait for that 15-minute to do the same, switch bearish, and then maybe take an entry off that demand. Or once price goes into it, you wait for the 1 minute to switch bearish. And so you can just layer that same strategy, and you don't have to use the 1 minute. I know that a lot of us use it, and a lot of people make a lot of money off. That's all great for sure, but you got to be, you don't have to use the 1 minute. On some coins, I almost recommend not trying to dig it, because like maybe storage is one of them. But yeah. So I mean, I wouldn't be rushing this. You'll be able to get. The targets are very far away. Your target's really all the way down here, and I would target it on a shitcoin like this. But so no need to rush and try to get in here. You know, a really aggressive trader could say like, okay, well, maybe this is your trigger. You say, okay, we got a 4-hour lick raid, which means you came above that, high and didn't close. So, being super aggressive, you could say, okay, well, let's see where we got this break of structure. Really, you got it once already, but then you got faked out. I mean, I wouldn't have tucked that either, but and let's use a stop up here. Now we've got a second break of structure there. Price didn't really come back into, did it? Let's see. Actually, yeah, it did. I guess it came into this range here. You could have marked it all, but I would just mark the that first up candle. So I guess price came into the range. It filled this fair value gap right there. Almost. Now you've got another break of structure, but this is another example of like what I was just talking about. So like, yeah, you could mark this zone, right? And while that is correct, what's up, Scorpion? And while that is correct, you know what I'm saying? Like, whenever price comes up here, because now we've got our internal structures come down here. Okay, we've got a low, we've got a high. We made this low, so now the 15-minute has to switch bullish to get back to your zone. And I was using double confirmation entry there for a while because price action was kind of tighter. Whenever I think there was more money involved in crypto, there was a little bit more institutional trading. So now, while this is a good POI, we've got a fair value gap. Mind it, it's tiny, but it's there. While that works, um, you're gonna have to switch bullish in the 15-minute once you get up there. So it's kind of like, I don't know. That's why I think the first one is almost better. And if you don't have confidence in the setup enough, don't take it. But an aggressive trader could have said, okay, well, this is my trigger. It's not for me, but maybe this is for you. Maybe you take this. I wouldn't, but you got in short here. You could have marketed as soon as this broke down. Because remember, if you're a 15-minute trader, that was your stop loss. But it's like, dude, that looks like a big stop loss, 6%, right? It's such a big stop loss. But we're not. I don't care about percent. Anybody who cares about percent is just flexing. They're not. That's nothing to do with the amount of money you make. But theoretically, it's not a bad trade. 9R. I mean, it's not the greatest to target a whole 4-hour range, but um, now, and if you're not happy with that, then you can wait till price comes up here, switches bullish or bearish again. Then, or maybe you did this number up here. You waited for it to come up in here into this zone, and you said, okay, price is here. Let's see. Price came right here, broke down. You might have just marketed there. Maybe you just marketed somewhere here, whatever, which is fine. You don't have to always wait for it. You will get better risk reward if you do, but a lot of times you'll also miss trades, whatever's cool with you. And if you see, okay, well, this definitely worked. Now if you waited for this last POI, your risk reward's through the roof. Now you've got 10R from barely making a move. If you were to try to target the same areas, you're gonna have a trade. You're gonna quit trading for a while if you take you have something crazy. So that's where you can. But it looks all pretty and stuff. But you gotta remember you're gonna get stopped out more. You gotta have that fortitude and resolve in your strategy in order to trade like that. What's ETH doing? It's kind of just chilling. The 15 minutes want to switch bear, and yet it hasn't yet. That was the same thing as 15 minute on ETH. Well, the 4 hours bearish, so that gives me a little more confidence. The 15-minute had to shift bullish to get back up to this POI. Now, if we break below this, it'll have shifted bearish again, and then you'll kind of start to have those time frames in harmony. But for me, the 15-minute switch bullish. Once the 4-hour is bearish, we're in a 4-hour POI. We did raid liquidity, so that's where I'm a little more confident in it. Bitcoin, I want to wait. I think Bitcoin could come up. We'll see. But this is ideally where I'd want to short Bitcoin from. But I'm interested still in the long idea if price can push back down in here and we start to see that new demand creation. Not really gonna watch any other coins right now. But yeah, on that note, I'm gonna hop off
Did you
here.
say new demand created?
What do I mean?
What do you mean?
So like, okay, so like for instance, right here, see like we got an internal break of structure. This candle made a low. So there's demand creation in this zone. Demand was created there.
Oh, okay.
You see what I'm saying?
So, yeah. I just wasn't sure.
Yeah. So
if you were talking about something else or not.
Yeah, just the new demand zone, because anytime we get a break of structure, there is demand. Whether it's a 1 minute break of structure or 4 hour, now obviously the higher the time frame we need to happen first, but yeah. What the fuck is this monkey? Oh my gosh. Monkey got killed with 11
Yeah, bro, it
cartoon
happened over
marks.
the weekend.
Damn. They're savage. Well.
Bro had a bulletproof vest on.
Well, on that note, guys, I'm gonna hop off here. I appreciate you all tuning in as always. I'm gonna keep an eye on everything. Really just Bitcoin and ETH and see how we react to these zones and then kind of build our bias around that. But until tomorrow, I'll see you guys later. I appreciate you as always. Peace out.